Back as promised. So I am going to be with you for the next 30 minutes or so as part of the Sharing the Story programme that you've got running as part of the page, which I think is an amazing idea. So I'm going to go straight in just because I know lots of people will watch this back at a later date. So rather than wait for people to log in, we'll just go straight ahead. I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am, a little bit about my journey. I'm going to read chapter 1 to you of the book that's going to be coming out in the next few weeks. And then if anybody's on and you've got any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. And I am very honest. That's kind of one of the things that my family and friends would tell you about one of my qualities, is that I am really, really honest. And I think, you know, we need to be. When we're facing a difficult situation, I think we need to be honest with ourselves. We need to be honest with the people around us just to get the best out of the situation. Hi, Sarah. I know you're tuning in. So, yeah, my name is Charlie Beswick, and I'm mum of 12-year-old twins, Oliver and Harry. When the boys were born, I had, as you will hear in chapter 1, I had no idea that there was any problem at all. And Harry was diagnosed with Golden Heart syndrome, which I don't know what the incident rates are like in the US, but in the UK it's about 1 in 25,000 births. And there aren't very many children with Golden Heart at all throughout the UK. So in the Golden Heart charity, I think there's just a few hundred parents. So there's not many people. So already, you know, you kind of feel isolated as a new parent with challenges, and then you find out that your child's got a syndrome that not many other people can relate to or understand. So that kind of, I don't know, gave me another barrier maybe. And so when my boys were about 18 months old, nearly 2, I was sitting in the hairdressers and I was flicking through a magazine, as you do while you're waiting for your appointment or your colour to set. And I read a story of a lady who her son had been born with Treacher-Collins syndrome, which presents itself quite similar to Golden Heart. But Treacher-Collins has a genetic cause, and the reasons for Golden Heart is unknown. And she just said that she felt this overwhelming love for her baby. And I thought, and you know, she's really protective. And I just thought that was wonderful. I thought it was great that she felt like that. But that really hadn't been my experience, which you'll hear about in a second. And I just thought maybe if I'd have read her article, having just given birth to my boys, having just heard the news and trying to digest it all, not quite sure how I would have felt, how that would have made me feel. Maybe it would have made me feel a bit, you know, sort of a bit worse even, because I think there is a massive assumption that mums will bond automatically regardless of the situation and regardless of what's happening. And yes, any child is a blessing. I totally agree with that. But at the same time, when you hit with something that you're not expecting, there's a process of coming to terms with it, really. So, yeah, so I read her article. I thought, good on you. I'm thrilled that it helped her, but actually it wouldn't have helped me. And so I kind of just started jotting notes down about our journey. And I kept diaries. And I joined Facebook. The boys were born in 2005. I joined Facebook in 2007. And that kind of became a way, as I've looked back, of chronicling our journey, and obviously photographs are there and things like that, and different statuses and things like that as well. And so, yeah, I started just making notes, and then a couple of years later I started to compile it all together. And over the past 9 years I have used the diaries that I wrote, the Facebook entries that I posted. I used medical records, school reports, what else? Everything. In the UK, we get a little red book that the health visitor gives to us. And that sort of logged all his development and things like that. So I used that, particularly to compare between him and Oliver with them being twins. And Sarah wants to know if I journaled prior towards my son's arrival. Do you know what? I have always journaled from a child, from about 13, 14. I've always found it really cathartic to kind of purge my thoughts at the end of the day, get it written down in a little diary. And so, yeah, it's something I've always done. I've always loved. I've always really enjoyed writing. I write poetry, and I've written wedding vows, and I've written different things like this, and funeral speeches in poems. So I've always found writing really quite soothing and helpful. So yeah, I guess it was kind of like a natural thing for me to do in terms of getting it all off my chest and getting it out there. My background is also in teaching. So, yeah, as part of doing that, once my boys were a little bit older and my class I thought could cope with it, I would show them pictures of the boys. And often I was teaching year 3, grade 3, I think, to you guys. So, like 7 years old. Oh, my battery is dying. And so, first of all, they'd all be quite grossed out and they'd be like, oh, what's wrong with that boy's face? And I'd let them sort of get that off their chest, and then I'd say, actually, that's Mrs. Machin's child, because that's what my name was at the time. And they were like, no way, and they were all quite surprised that was my son. But actually, it taught them real empathy. And by the end of the year, it didn't even take a year, but by the end of the few months, they really had taken to Harry and they loved him. They met him as part of, sort of days off and things like community days with the school. So they absolutely loved him. So it's been a real rocky journey for me. Lots and lots of highs, lots and lots of lows. And my mission, if you like, is to get the book out there and to get it into the hands of mums that are a little bit lost, like I was right at the beginning. And really for it to be the story that I wanted to read at the start, which is brutally honest, that says, do you know what, this is crap. This is really, really bad that this has happened to you and your baby, and it's unfair. And it's wrong and all the things that I felt, but actually it gets better, it gets brilliant, and the life that you've got is not the life you planned for, but it still will be a wonderful one. And that's really the message in the book, is just kind of keep going, and there's little bits of advice and things like that in there as well. So what I'm going to do, sorry, I'm kind of I don't know, I've not planned what I was going to say to you, because I'm very much, I want to just speak from the heart. So I hope this is okay and I'm not rambling too much. We're about 10 minutes in. So chapter 1 will only take me a couple of minutes to read to you. And then if anybody is on that has any questions, then fire away. And I'm more than happy to answer them. And thank you to the people that are watching live. It's really cool to have you with me. If my phone stands still. Okay. So chapter 1 is called Something is Wrong. Your son has been born with half a face. Okay, so that's not exactly what the consultant said, but it's basically what it boiled down to. I'd undergone an emergency cesarean a couple of hours earlier and had delivered twin boys. I had assumed that they were healthy. Why wouldn't they be? I don't smoke, hadn't drunk alcohol, ate well, and never, not once, did I think I'd have anything other than 2 perfectly formed, healthy children. But now I was being told otherwise. Mark, my partner, was sitting to my left, having just come back from making all the customary phone calls to announce the safe arrival of 2 boys. The midwife had popped her head into my cubicle while he'd been gone and said that she'd come back when Mark was with me. I remember that her smile made me feel uneasy for a moment, but it passed as quickly as it came. I was still fuzzy from the drugs and very tired, so I dismissed my brief concern. Once Mark was with me, the consultant came and sat at the foot of the bed, and Sarah, a lovely midwife about the same age as me, sat next to him to my right. I remember being aware that she was watching me intently. Now I know why. The consultant, Dr. Mona, explained that twin 1, Oliver, was fine, but twin 2, Harry, had some problems. I can still see the way that Dr. Mona drew an imaginary line down the centre of his face with his hand and swept it across to the left side as if he were erasing what was there. I processed it all in painfully slow motion, as if I were dreaming. His voice was muffled, as if he was talking to me underwater. I could hear the odd word, dulled by my delayed understanding and the pounding in my ears. At the same time, he was mentioning something about no eye, a small underdeveloped ear, no nostril, a short and slanted jaw. He mentioned golden something syndrome and hemi something or other. I now know these to be golden heart syndrome and hemifacial microsoma, different terms of similar conditions. Associated with this condition are heart defects, spinal problems and brain damage, but it was too early to know how severely Harry had been affected. He'd also been born with only 1 artery in his umbilical cord, instead of 2, and the implications of this were again unknown at that time. Dream. Bad dream. Thick, thick fog. What? I remember looking from Dr. Mona to Mark repeatedly as he told us the news, like a person would look to a translator for help understanding a foreign language. I couldn't process this information. Not us. Not me. No. I felt as though I was drowning. This wasn't what was supposed to happen. Parents were told the weight of their babies, that it was time to hold and cuddle them. to gaze into their little eyes and pour themselves into their perfect creation, feeling an elation beyond anything they'd ever known. It must be a mistake. I sat perfectly still, frozen in that moment that I would relive for years to come. All I could whisper as fat, slow tears rolled down my face was, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." No hysterical outbursts or sobbing convulsions, just a paralysis of disbelief and guilt. Despite being shocked and stunned, I found the guilt overwhelming. Mark squeezed my hand and told me I had nothing to be sorry for. Dr. Mona also assured me that it wasn't due to anything I had or hadn't done throughout the pregnancy, but I couldn't think of anything else. When did it all go wrong? Think, Charlene, think. What did you do? What have you done to your child? Hot on the tail of guilt came a much darker emotion, fear. Dr. Mona sat in front of me, describing a baby who only had half a face, and for all we knew, no quality of life ahead of him, and yet I was expected to love him. But what if I couldn't? What if I couldn't look at him, let alone hold him and bond with him? What if I was repulsed by this strange-looking baby that I'd not expected or prepared for? Surely everyone would know just by looking at me. I wasn't the mother this boy needed. When Sarah asked if I wanted to see him, I was absolutely terrified. Seeing him was the last thing I wanted to do at that moment, but I said yes. What else could I say? What sort of cold, hard, unfeeling, wicked, feel free to add your own adjectives, person would I have been to admit my fears to anyone? It's only now, when I reflect on those moments, that I realise they were perfectly normal. By now, I'd called the one person I felt who had the magical power to make everything all right for me, to hold me through my nightmare and shush it all away. I don't remember what I said to my mum on the phone in the hospital bed. I know that I whispered, partly because only a thin curtain separated us from a ward full of mothers I no longer had anything in common with, partly because I knew that the alternative to whispering would drain me of any bit of energy I had left. I think I said, "Something is wrong," and I cried. Mum left work immediately to come to us. Many years later, when I faced all of these feelings in the safe space of a therapeutic setting, I pictured a vase, beautiful, big and colourful, but it had been smashed into hundreds of pieces. Every fragment had been retrieved and painstakingly reassembled, so to all the world it still looked like the proud vase it once was. It still did the same job, but it was a fragile version of its former self, changed forever. That moment, that day, was when my vase tipped off the edge of its table, hit the floor and shattered. I don't know how long it was before the wheelchair came to take us to the special care baby unit. The excitement that had filled me less than 24 hours ago felt like someone else's now, and all I had left was fear, dread and a sickness in the pit of my stomach. I forced a smile and got into the wheelchair. It was time to meet my boys. That's chapter 1. So I'd love to know what you think. Hi to those people who've joined me. So that's sort of chapter 1, setting the scene, and then from there we kind of go backwards a little bit. So I talk you through my pregnancy, back to that point, and then moving forwards over the last 12 years. Oh, Sarah, don't. Do you know, it's been really emotional writing it. It's helped me massively. It's going to be tough, I think, when it comes out, and lots of people kind of are reading my pain. But the idea is that I know my pain is somebody else's right now, and the idea is that it kind of helps them to see through that darkness, past that pain and past that tough time, really. So I don't know if my battery's going to hold out. I don't know how much longer I've got left. So if I do disappear, I apologise in advance. But I know I've got a couple of people extra on. If anybody's got any questions rather than me waffling on, then just post them below and I'll answer them. If you're watching this on catch up and replay, then you can... Oh, great question, Sarah. You can contact me with any questions on the Facebook page, that's Our Altered Life, or you can email me at ouralteredlife@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram, Twitter and YouTube as well, so you see some videos on YouTube. In terms of purchasing the book, so the book is going to be out probably the beginning of September now. I was hoping for the end of August, but I'm pushing it back a week, just for some certain reasons. So it's going to be beginning of September. It will be on Amazon. So it's going to be on .co.uk in the UK and .com for America, because we've got quite a huge following in America, which is cool and amazing. So it will be there. If you subscribe, and I'll pop the link below, if you subscribe to chapter 1, so you can read what I've just read to you, then you will be updated and you will get priority to go on the pre-order list. And that's going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks. So that's really exciting. Yeah. So that's me, that's our story, that's our altered life. I know we're not the only ones with an altered life. Everybody in this group has been affected by, you know, some syndrome to one extent or another. And I really don't think it matters. You know, Harry is really at the severe end of the golden horse spectrum. He also has autism as well, and global learning delay, and he's non-verbal. So we've got extra sort of things thrown in the mixture as well for us. But that's not to say that our journey is any tougher than somebody who might have the syndrome at the other end of the spectrum. You know, and I'm a big believer in if your life isn't the one you planned for, then it's tough and you have to cope. And so my book is for nosy parents, general parents, everybody that just likes a good read, as well as the parents that need to read it. Okay, so my boys' relationship with each other. Oliver is fiercely protective of Harry. So when we used to go out, before Harry had his corrective surgery to have his false eye fitted, he, hi Caris. Okay, what's it all about? I'm new. Right, so I'm Charlie, and I'm just recapping on my journey with my boys who, Harry has golden heart syndrome. I've got twin boys, Oliver and Harry was born with golden heart syndrome, which basically means the left-hand side of his face never developed. So when they were little, we used to get a lot of stares, a lot of shouting, pointing. We'd even get children that would cry and run away if I took the boys to play centres and things like that. And Oliver used to get really protective. As babies, obviously, he didn't notice, they're twins. But as he got a little bit older, sort of 5, 6 years old, he wouldn't like it. And he'd say, Mum, I want to hit those boys, or that girl's horrible, I need to go and tell her off. And I'd say, you can't do that. You know, they're curious, they've never seen somebody like Harry before. And once I got used to dealing with the questions, I was much better at helping Oliver to deal with the questions. So yeah, he's his fiercest protector. He absolutely adores him, worships the ground he walks on, but he does struggle a little bit with the fact that in Harry, he doesn't have the playmate that typical twins have. Yeah, and I'm under no illusions that they'll fight and they'll fall out, but that's part of growing up, and Oliver doesn't even have that. So he doesn't have the playmate. He doesn't have the sibling support that you would normally have with a brother relationship. And sometimes he can be a little bit resentful of the time that Harry takes from us as a family. And things like, you know, Harry will have phases where he'll hit out at Oliver quite a lot. And Oliver will sort of say, I know there's one instance, it's in the book, that we took them recently for the birthday party, and they went on a ride, like an aeroplane ride that was floating in the air, and they sat together. Normally I sit with Harry. And I could see Harry hugging Oliver, and I was like, yay, that's great. But as the plane came lower down, I could see that he was actually punching Oliver in the head. So when they got off the ride, Oliver's crying, saying, I hate him. And then in the next breath, he's crying, saying, I'm sorry, Mum, I don't hate him, I love him, but I hate that he does this to me and I can't hit him back. So there's a real struggle with Oliver in terms of loving him intensely and really wanting to protect him, but also feeling quite resentful of the time that he does take, and the fact that he doesn't have the brother he would have otherwise had. My partner, Andrew, so we've been together 6.5 years, he's got a son and a daughter, and they get on really, really well. And so that's quite nice. Life's much easier when there's the 4 children together, believe it or not, because Oliver plays with Harrison, Benedicta, who's my stepdaughter, plays with Harry, she mothers him and looks after him, and there's a little bit more harmony. And yeah, and it's really cool. But Oliver's an incredible boy. He's had to grow up really quickly and face things that lots of other boys and lots of other girls don't really ever have to consider. He's got anxiety himself, which I have to work on and help him through for various reasons. But yeah, he's an awesome boy, and they've got a lovely relationship. Harry, for I'd probably say maybe the first 8 or 9 years, was pretty oblivious to Oliver. He was just a nuisance, just an annoyance in the background. And Oliver would try and play with him, and Harry would have none of it at all. But as they've got older, he's definitely more aware of him now. And if you say, who's this? He'll say, Oliver. You say, Obida, Oliver. And so, yeah, they're getting a little bit closer now. So that's really cool. That's really sweet. I do worry when they get older about how much Oliver will be around to look after Harry and whether he should. There's a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. I want him to travel. I want him to go and have a really good life. But at the same time, I kind of worry about who's going to look after Harry when I die. That's my biggest fear. Yes, Caris, my boys are in the lounge with Andrew. I think he's keeping them in there. So it's a little bit quiet for us. So, but if you wanted to see pictures of the boys and you head over to my page, it's Our Altered Life. So you can see pictures and little videos of the boys in there. Oh my goodness, yeah, Wonder is amazing. I read Wonder a few years ago now, and then again recently this year. And I've become a real advocate that everybody should read it. When I read it a few years ago, I took it into school, the school that I was teaching, and we have a year 6, 2 year 6 children, classes, not children, classes, and the teachers read that as their year text, because I'm passionate about the fact that I think it's something that every child should read, every child should be aware of, and I can't wait to see the movie. My personal opinion, I do feel that they've kind of normalised the syndrome a little bit. So Augie doesn't look quite as severely affected in the film as he does in the book. But I think if it raises awareness, then it's a fantastic cause. And to have Julia Roberts, who is my very favourite actress in the world, play his mum, it was just amazing. So yeah, I love Wonder, absolutely love Wonder. And actually, if you head over to the blog, you'll see a couple of posts about Wonder. So why Wonder affects me, maybe more than a neurotypical parent, and also Oliver's review of Wonder, because he's also dyslexic. So yeah, so that's cool as well. What's been the biggest lesson that Harry's taught you? That's a brilliant question. I think, wow, I can be a bit of a perfectionist, and yeah, I kind of like to get everything right. So what I do, I give 100%. And it's not always perfect, but it's my best. I always give my best. So when Harry was born, I really struggled to cope with the fact that I felt that I'd let him down and I hadn't been the perfect mum and the perfect uterus, or I hadn't been the perfect introduction for him into the world. And that really led me down the road of postnatal depression, and I actually think PTSD a little bit as well, because I relived the boy's birth quite a few years afterwards. I'm very, very traumatised. And so I think it's kind of taught me that, do you know what, just because things aren't perfect, or just because things don't work out the way that you want them to, you just have to breathe and trust that you're exactly where you need to be. And I'm not particularly religious, but I am quite spiritual, and I believe that there are no coincidences. We're given a life we can cope with or we can grow into. And I think Harry's absolutely my gift. Here to teach me about acceptance, accepting myself, accepting him, learning what unconditional love means, and not being too hard on myself. And that's something that's taken me a long time to get my head around. But I'm kind of getting there now. Not every day. Catch me on a bad day, I'm beating myself up. But sort of 90% of the time, it makes me kind of realise that just because it might not be what I expected, in any sort of capacity, jobs, relationships, finances, just general situations, just because it doesn't go out the way you plan it to, doesn't mean that's a bad thing. It just means you have to be patient, sit back and watch everything to unfold, and trust that you're in the right place. Oh, you're very welcome, Sarah. Thank you for asking me. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope your viewers later on will enjoy the replay. I realise it's kind of mid-afternoon for you guys over there, so you're out enjoying your beautiful weather. It's throwing it down a rain in the UK at the moment. It's horrible. So yeah, I hope you're all enjoying the sunshine on my behalf. That would be amazing. And as I say, please do let me know if you've got any questions. And download Chapter 1. I'll pop the link underneath so that you go onto the mailing list to find out a little bit more about the pre-order. And we'll be going live. We'll be publishing end of August, probably the first week in September. And I would really, really love to know your opinion on the book. Get your feedback as well. Yeah, I hope you do love us all. Stateside would be incredible. It would be amazing. I have to say, by a mile, Harry's biggest support is from America. Our Instagram account, I only set up 5 months ago, and currently at today's date, we're on just over 11,000 followers. And that's all very organic, very natural followers that have come, and a huge proportion of that are from America. So he has a lot of fans, a lot of friends in America. So yeah, actually paying a visit and coming out to you guys would be amazing. It's on the goal board, so I'll keep you posted if that becomes a reality. Fingers crossed. You just never know. But yeah, you know, if you would do me a massive favour and share the link, then again, that just spreads the word and just spreads the support and the love. And ultimately, that's what we all need. We all need that support and encouragement from each other. So, yay! So I hope that's helped. I'm going to love you and leave you there a little bit earlier than planned. But as I say, any questions, fire them my way. I am always happy to help. And thank you again for having me on. Thank you, Sarah, so much. I hope that's been exactly what you wanted. And yeah, thanks for the invitation and enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, thanks guys. Bye.